Welcome back to Cold Ones, episode 10. Kyle is unable to host it today, so you have me back. Our special guest today is going to be Kyle Dickson. Come on in, Kyle. So, if you're not familiar with Cold Ones or it's your first time watching it, it's a 5 minute ice bath and then a post plunge warm up where we're really going to get to know Kyle for who he is. You've heard the man talk and all his opinions, and now we're going to get to know a little bit more about him. You ready?
Absolutely, mate. I'm always ready. I'm always ready.
Am I ready? Fuck no. But hey ho.
Oh. Woo.
Whenever you're ready, mate.
Okay. Oh, God. That's cold. Oh, that's cold.
Just breathe, you'll be alright. It's really nice, eh?
Oh, it's cold.
It's cold, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it's cold.
So, Kyle, a lot of questions that I get asked when people ask about your cold plunge. The big one that always comes up is why? What's the point in all this?
Oh, well. I think I've glossed over this quite a lot, and it's like a whole discipline thing, but we're going to go over this a lot in the second part. But for me, I think it was a second opportunity for me to maybe find myself, give myself an opportunity to help other people. And I've always been quite a caring person when it came to other people. So I've always liked to try and put people above myself and try and be there for people. But now I've given myself an opportunity to give that same opportunity to everybody by letting them come on here and talking and kind of doing what I wanted to do when I was in a bad place. That's probably the main reason I've started Cold Wans. I think it's an opportunity. It's unique. It gives people an opportunity to come on, even if they're not really thinking this is the type of thing they would want to do in their life. At least it gives them an opportunity to do it. Like, it's open to anybody. If anyone watching this that doesn't know that wants to do it, just give me a message. I'm up for anybody. I want to speak to everybody. I want to know everyone's life. I want to know all these things because it's all important to me and it's all important for you to talk about it.
So, for you, do you think that bringing people onto this and letting them do this, do you think it gives them maybe that first step in disciplining themselves truly?
Yeah, I think if someone's willing to do this, I think the thing is as well, right? You have to think about it this way. So first of all, cold bath plunges, brutal.
It
Is
fucking
brutal.
sucks.
Exactly, it's brutal. So you don't want to do that in the first place. But then you're also putting yourself out there for people that you don't even know to see what you're got to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a good opportunity for you to just go out your comfort zone because it's two things that just people don't do. You don't want to share yourself fully public with everybody. The thing is, as well, something like Cold Wans could blow up at one point, and you're saw by hundreds of thousands of people. I'm not saying that's where it's going to go, but it could. And the fact that you're willing to come on to it and do something like that just shows how willing you are to change, or how comfortable, or how much you're willing to push yourself out of a comfortable position to be yourself. And like I said, the cold plunge, it's already brutal enough. So if you're willing to do it, props to you. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, it's obviously quite a respectable thing. Like, it does take a lot of mental discipline to even get into it in the first place. So my next question for you is, how long are you going to carry on the solo ice tubs? So you're on what, day 75?
Yeah, that is, yeah. Is it? No, 76. Because I'm by next. No. I'm on day 80. Stay 80.
80.
So, I mean, the plan is just to keep going. I think there's going to be points in life where I'm probably going to have to maybe makeshift the way I do it, but I want to try and keep it going because the thing is, right, I look at it this way. So if I stop, and it's nothing about the content, it's if I stop now, there's no guarantee that I would want to go back to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to stop to then start because, as I say, cold plunging is brutal. It's not something you just want to do. It's something that you need to really push yourself to do. And I get worried in case that maybe when one day I stop it, I then wouldn't be able to go back mentally. But I think I would. That's not really where I was pushing for. In the whole grand scheme of things, I want to just keep going with this because this is what has changed me. I wanted to change myself, but this itself, this whole like ritual of doing this ice bath, having my like martial arts and stuff involved as well, that's what changed me to give me that second chance to be who I am now. and give me that opportunity to then give other people the chance to change. So it's just hopefully until I can't physically go no more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And that's respectable as well. I know it is a big challenge to, especially because I've done this twice, and it fucking sucks ass. So doing it 80 days in a row it's taxing.
yeah. Like,
But
I think you get that point though where you're like mentally strong enough just to like do it.
yeah,
But like I said, if you've been watching my dailies, like a week ago, I was struggling. Like I couldn't even look at the bath without being like, I don't want to do it. Now I'm just like, even today I was like, I don't want to do it. Mark was like, I don't want to do it. I was like, yeah, it's fair enough because he's not doing it all the time. I am doing it all the time. So like, you'd think that I would be able to just jump in and not really have too much of a bother. But lo and behold, the situation, the ritual is still a problem even when you've done it 80 days in a row, and that's just how it will be because it's a tough thing to do.
yeah, it's a tough habit to keep a hold of. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think we got quite a good few answers out of you there. So now we'll hop out the bath and then we'll see you in the post plunge warm up where it's going to be nice and toasty.
Oh, thank
So-
God.
We'll see you there. Right, ladies and gents, we are back. We're back in the post plunge warm up shed. It's nice and toasty in here. How's the ice bath for you?
Oh, it was cold. Like,
Was it cold?
Oh,
So a lot of the guests we actually have on, they say quite similar
oh
things.
no,
It's
man,
quite
that was cold. Like,
cold. Yeah,
I'm surprised I managed to get in it. Like,
yeah,
I was just struggling.
it's just discipline at the end of the day.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually alright. I think the first one that I done, that was fucking freezing, and then this one now actually wasn't too bad. Right, so second part, we're gonna get to know Kyle from top to bottom. We're really gonna dig into his very soul. So Kyle,
So, as the host of Cold Ones, I feel like it was only necessary for me to finally do an episode myself. And I've got a story to tell. And that's for sure. I definitely have a story to tell. So we're going to start from the very beginning. And we're going to start from when I was born. So I was born on the 3rd of July, 2003 in St. John's Hospital. I live in Muirston in a family of 5. So I've got mum, dad, brother, sister. The whole time through my life growing up, I've been treated really well. Family are brilliant. There's nothing I could say bad about any of my family members. We've all really kind of came together, never had any issues, and it's always been really. We've always been treated very similarly between my brother and my sister and me. So, growing up, I met Mark when we went into primary school. Primary school was a very easy time for me in my life. It was just as you would expect, it very childish. Not you wouldn't even think that I was ever going to be capable of the things that I was capable of later down the line.
aye, simpler times for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's almost acceptable for most people to be saying the same thing, and I think primary school is definitely the time that you get the most acceptance in being the way you are, and you need to try and just really hold on to those years because after that point, they do say once you start to like leave the nest, it does get more difficult. And high school is just as bad as leaving high school to go to like the big world. There's not much to talk about in primary school. It's just kind of same thing. I was a decent student at primary school, doing all right. I was just kind of getting on with it, you know what I mean, like you do in primary schools. It's not a big place where you're like getting loads of like stuff pushed down your throat. You're just there to learn.
Yeah, for me, I was shit at both primary and high school.
Well, you know, we can't all win everything,
No.
you know what I mean? But yeah, we're just going to gloss past primary school because it's really not that important to me, I don't think. When we went into high school, at the beginning of high school, it was, again, just going into high school, it's a bit of a scary thing, you know what I mean? You go in, you're around a lot of older people. I know that's the same for primary school, but we're all kind of in the same mindset then. When you're in high school, it's like, you get your 6th years that are a lot more mature, they've went through life a bit more, and you've got like your wee S1s like I would have been going into it, and you're like, the small fry in the big school, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a scary place to go. And I think a lot of people realise that when you actually step into school, you're just the smallest person there, you know what I mean? You've got to kind of work your way through it.
And then at the start of high school, that's when me and you distanced a bit. I think it was only for like a couple of years or something, where Kyle took one route, which he'll get on to, and then I took a different route away from that for a short period of time, and then we came back to that. But in that little gap there, what ended up happening while I wasn't there?
So I would say in first, second year, it was probably like my most innocent time in high school. But at the same time, when you go into high school, a lot of people pick one of two ways. They stay with their school friends that they've had throughout primary school, and they kind of just stay there. And it's a good thing to do because they're your real friends. You've grown up with them. They know you, you know them. Or you go on the route of trying to make new friends within that school. So that's the route I took, and by taking that route, I kind of just blown all my other friends to the side as well, and that's where it really you start to notice like your change in high school. You can pick the people you know, or you pick the new people that you don't know that are most of the time just it's harder to know them really because you don't know them. You know what I mean? Like you're going into this thing, and it's all about popularity in school. We all know this. People go into school with a mindset of I need to be popular, I need to be known, I need to push myself out there. It's not important. You need to keep the people that are important to you in your life because they're the ones that will have your back later down the line. Like
Absolutely.
it's been fucking 18 years or whatever that I've known Mark and or 18, 19 years and he's still here, even though I've done a lot of countless bad things that I should not be given the benefit of the doubt for, but people stand by you because they trust you and who you are, you know what I mean?
At the end of the day, you know someone, and you know when it's an act, and you know when they're putting on that there's someone who they're not. And it's when you're actually pals, you can see right through the shite,
Yeah.
and you're like, that's not who he is.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so going from there, it was kind of just like I split off from my school friends. You were all doing your thing. I tried to push to be a more popular guy within school, even though popularity doesn't come with having loads of people. It comes with who you know, and it's such a stupid thing because when you get out of school, you realize popularity means nothing. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Because like I don't have half the people that I fought to be friends with in high school. I don't even speak to at all, or I don't even know really anymore. But that's just a whole other thing. Like it's just stupid. But you don't realize that until you get out of school and you realize who you really have as friends. After that point of being like the popularity driven, trying to look for like that kind of thing, I ended up getting my first girlfriend, which was when I was at age 13. She was a year above me in school, so she was 14. And I mean, to be fair, our relationship was alright. It had its problems. Every relationship has its problems, but like we had our problems. We got on with it. It's just like young love. There's always going to be things. Even old love, there's always going to be things. You know, you can't have a perfect life with a relationship until you really know each other and you've really glued together. So her being a bit older, she knew older people, and like I was saying before, different walks of life. They're older. So for me, I then would start going. Well, I remember this quite vividly. I used to start going out with her older friends. I'm not going to drop any names. This whole time that I'm talking, no names will be mentioned because it's not fair. And that past for them is left behind.
Absolutely.
But for me, I'll happily tell what I experienced from those times. So the first time I went out with her friends back then, I remember very vividly that this was the first time I was ever introduced to ecstasy as a drug. And at this point in time, I had no thought or process to taking or being partaking in any of this like drug abuse or anything like that. But I just remember it very vividly, and I remember being like, "What? Why? Like, what's that all about?" Like, I'm young. I don't even at this point in my life, I didn't even know what drugs were. And this is also another thing that I think schools need to really pick up on because they don't. No one gets taught about them and what like the actual problems are with them. Because the thing is, they're not illegal because they're not fun, or they're not illegal because people try to use them to have fun. They're illegal because there's problems with them and they cause mental, physical, countless different things in your life to just change. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
The thing is, it's a really good point because I remember all throughout high school, they had a specific class. I can't remember what it was called. But they would occasionally touch on drugs and what their names were.
Oh, PSE and stuff.
Aye, that's the one. But they would never tell you what they did. It never tells you the effect on you. It never tells you this or that, or if you're gonna do them, how to be safe with them. You don't get taught that. You get told drugs are bad, then you do them, and that is the extent of it. I don't ever remember. I remember sitting in that class and then where the teachers were calling ecstasy disco biscuits and that. Didn't tell us what it was. Didn't tell us what was in them. Didn't tell us what it did. Didn't tell us if you're gonna do it, be safe. Do this, do that. No, you just get told, Dad, stay away from it. someone offers it, you say no. And at the end of the day, you got fucking 5 people around you who are all taking them, and they offer you it, and all your mates are doing it. It's hard to say no in those situations, especially when you don't know what you're getting into.
I think if you think about it as well, though, like the fact that they're telling you to say no, especially at a younger age, that sometimes to kids then makes them want to
It's
do
a
it more.
challenge. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a
So
challenge.
it's like they need. That's what I mean. Like, they need to find a way to teach, or at least give a good background on what happens to you, because it's again, it's not about the effects while you're in that place once you've took a drug. It's the effects after. That's the biggest
Yeah.
problem. It's what happens to you after. But I'm going to touch down on all this in a bit. So after me and the relationship I was in for about 3 years had been, no, maybe 2 years actually, had been going on. I then had, it was weird because my life kind of just changed, and I do, until this very day I don't really know what happened. And I know obviously like the whole social thing of like being surrounded with people that you shouldn't be surrounded with, and that was obviously part of it because I'd been introduced into all these things that just I shouldn't be part of. But for some reason within myself, I had also just changed. There was just, it was like day and night as well. It didn't take long for me to be like, I don't know. It was really weird because I remember being so okay, and then suddenly one day I was introduced to it, and then this is like drugs and stuff, and everything just changed. And it's like, it's weird because once you're introduced to it, you then introduce your friends to it, and then once your friends are introduced to it, they then introduce other people to it, and it's like a
Yeah.
wave. And I hold the burden of being the first one probably to at least bring like hard drugs into my friend group, and I hold on to that, and I know that I'm capable, or I'm the reason that all my friends at one point probably got it themselves involved with
Yeah.
what they got involved with, and it is a hard thing to hold because you don't want to be the reason that your friends got involved with illegal drugs. You know what I mean? But it's one of these things, and I'll never understand from that day where it all changed. I remember who I saw, no names again, but I remember who I saw. I remember why I took it, and I remember what kind of happened in that whole area. But I don't know why I changed so violently. It wasn't like it's just a weird one, but
Yeah, because it wasn't
it wasn't gradual at all.
it wasn't done it once back to normal self. It was more like done it once and thrown straight into it, sort of a thing. And that's the part that I remember of you, because I mean when we ended up reconnecting and being, it was a big group again and stuff like that. Like, I didn't fucking recognize you because it was such a change
Yeah.
from who you were.
To be fair, I didn't touch on that. So like after like maybe first, second year as well, in about third year, after I had kind of calmed down with like my because I had a girlfriend and stuff, I kind of just went to be a bit more quiet. So I'm marking all that reintroduced himself into my life. Scott, like all of them, like we all came back kind of together, and then we kind of created like a smaller group of people that we just kind of messed about with. It was just mucked about, went out and done some other stuff, and that was just before it all kind of changed, and I had got introduced with all like the bad times
Yeah.
in my life probably. But yeah, so we'll continue from where I was. So within that change came a lot of problems, of course, and these problems weren't just within the people I was surrounding myself with. This was also within my household, and I think the thing that a lot of people gloss over with drug abuse and kind of partaking and taking drugs is you can do it once or twice, okay. But see, when you get to a point where you're doing it all the time, and you can recognize you're doing it all the time, but you can't stop it. That's where you need to realize it's time to stop. Being young, being naive, is completely different from being addicted and relying on something. And I know you can't even paste that to a kid because, again, I've just said they're naive, they're young. But when you're going, I remember I've got memories of me when I'd completely changed, and I'd I'd go home, and I treated my family like they didn't exist, like they were nothing. Like I was something way better than they all were. And I remember it all really vividly. Like this is something that I hold on to really dearly, and I feel there's no level of sorry I can say to kind of make up for what I've done for that situation. Like I remember I came into the house and I was getting like physically violent with my dad, And this is what drugs do to you. It's like it's the mentality you change over to from what you were, and it's like they don't recognize you because you're not you. No one else recognizes you because you're not you, but you feel like you have to hold on to that burden of being someone you're not because it makes you look bigger in the whole grand scheme of things.
No, it's a good point you said there because I remember it as well. That my family knew well before they'd caught me, and the biggest change in them was I mind it was my dad who said to me, he was like, I fucking knew you were up to something because of how angry you were getting,
Mm-hmm.
how volatile you got, and that you were just getting pissy over nothing. And I was like, yeah, 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 because you don't see the change, because the change happens, and you're instantly comfortable with it. It's like you were always like that, because you don't feel like, oh, I feel like I've been a bit more angry today, or I like, oh, when you're in a mood, you're in a mood, and you can pull yourself out. But it wasn't like this. It was like you were always in a mood, but you didn't know you were in a mood.
Yeah.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
But everyone else around you could see it. Absolutely everybody, but you, because you're just so in that headspace.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But like, I think the thing that everyone needs to get a lot of like recognition or like recognize for drug abuse is the fact that it's like it's you take a massive hit from it, right? But the people around you, especially your family, if you're going back and you're like making it their problem, it's just it's not acceptable. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to kind of find like a middle ground, but because the thing is, once you're doing drugs, like you've just said, you don't recognize what you're doing. But I should have recognized what I was doing because I remember very vividly every time that I'd go home and just be shouting at them, being. And the thing is, it's not like they were doing anything wrong. My mum at one point was like probably trying to just like make sure I wasn't going out because she kind of. I'm pretty sure they all knew what was going on, and that's the hardest part for me because I'm like, I was making it their problem when they were just trying to help me realistically. And the thing is, I'll never blame any of my family members for what's happened to me because the whole situation is something very, very out of their hands. It's so hard to control somebody that's so not there. And sometimes I wish they had just like got the police and like the police involved and actually sorted me out or put me somewhere to like really learn because I really needed to be put in gear then. And they were trying to do it in the nicest way possible for me because they cared about me. And the fact that I can say that my mum and dad still cared about me then shows how much love they have for me now because it's it's crazy to think because if that was me standing in their shoes, I don't think I could look at me the same even now because the things that I'd done then, they're not forgivable. They're acceptable once you finally learn to just get over it, but they're not forgivable.
No.
These are things that you have to hold on to. You need to keep breathing. I'm not going to lie, before I came on this, I was sitting in my room crying because I was thinking about all the things that have. It's not about what I've went through. It's about what I've done to the people that I know.
That's the thing. All you end up doing when you get involved with that life is you just hurt everyone who's around you. Like, absolutely everybody. No one gets unscathed by it. Because anyone who is close to you will be hurt by it. And that is one of the biggest things. And it's something that I noticed as well. I just hurt everyone around me.
Yeah.
I just didn't give a fuck about it either.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to school, right? So, with all the whole family thing, absolutely terrible. And I wish, I will never be able to say sorry to myself enough, but I will be able to accept what I've done. And I'm now showing that I have become better because of it. I am now where I want to be in life. But we're not done with the story yet. So, during this time when I started taking drugs and stuff, it then finally got to a point where obviously my mum and dad were kind of recognizing it. So they had stopped giving me money for stuff. And this is the hardest part for me to talk about because I know this is the part that hurts my family the most. And it's the hardest thing for me to kind of get over because you can't forgive yourself for even thinking it's acceptable to do this. Because even, it doesn't matter where you've been, the minute you take this leap, that's on you now. You can go through and say, oh, I had a bad friend group, like going through taking drugs, like peer pressure. The minute you step into selling drugs, that's when you know it's you. You've done that. It's not peer pressure anymore. You took that step and now you're doing this to yourself. And so that's kind of where it went. And a lot of people don't understand that me me selling drugs, it wasn't as such to make money. It was more so I could afford to then pay for my addiction, it wasn't an addiction as such, but what I enjoyed, what I relied on to kind of keep me where I was in that moment. So I was selling stuff. It was only for a couple months because luckily I got caught, but I was selling drugs, obviously, and that's not a good look on anybody. Like, I'm not. It's just not. Especially at the young age that I was at as well. It's crazy to think that someone at the age of 15 can be going about selling drugs to people that could be way older or even younger. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't care where I got my money from as long as I got it. You know what I mean? And that's the scariest thought, because by me giving somebody what I had, I'm putting them at risk. I'm taking their money to put them at risk. And I didn't even care. Back then I did not care at all. And I can promise you that. I'm gonna fire like pictures and that throughout this whole thing, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I look like. And exactly
That's not a great look.
exactly. Like, that's what I mean. Like, there's I look back at sometimes, and I look back at the photos that I've got from then, and I'm just like, there's nothing. There's no emotion.
Yeah.
And I've got like I'll fire a picture of Jacob when I was holding Jacob against when I was holding Lila when they were born, and you can see it's day and night.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even like when I still had problems when I was with Lila. Like, I was drinking a lot and stuff, but we're gonna get onto that. But with Jacob, like, just the photos, there's nothing.
That was the peak of it.
Yeah, I was lifeless. I was a vessel. Like, in the photo, you just look at it and you go, fuck, there's nothing going on, nothing. And my mum always brings that photo up and goes, just look how happy you are now against then. I was like, I don't think I wasn't happy. I just didn't have emotion. I couldn't show it.
Just complete lack of emotions is what it does to you. You do just become a fucking shadow of yourself.
Yeah, and it is. It's a scary thing as well, because you don't even recognize. You don't realize. Like, I thought I looked great in those photos,
Yeah.
but I was like, get a photo. You know what I mean? Like, back in that mindset. But it's like you look back at it now and you're like, Jesus Christ, what happened to me? Like, how did I let myself get away that easy? You know what I mean? It's a crazy thought, but so what were we talking about? So obviously I had been selling drugs to make kind of ends meet in that, and it's not a good thing. I don't recommend any of that stuff to anyone, obviously, but just it's a hard thing to talk about as well, because from my experience, I done it for that reason. I don't know what other people do it for. In my experiences, I think a lot of younger folk do it for what I'm talking about. It's so that they can then get their weekend, because it's a very normalized thing going out on a weekend with their friends. Like, even if they are young, it's a very normalized thing. But luckily for me, eventually, I made the stupid move of going to school with what I was selling at the time, and I'd done it literally in the cafeteria, and that just shows how much my smarts had just gone. Like, there was nothing there. Yeah. I just didn't think no normal person would be walking about with this, like, class A or class B drugs and selling them in a school
at 10 in the morning.
Exactly, like in cafeteria where everyone is. Who does that? But as you know what, I pray to God, and I feel blessed for the reason that did happen, because I don't know where I would be right now if I never got caught. I would hope that I would be where I am now, but there's no guarantee. I could be dead. I could be in prison. The life could have been so different if I didn't get caught that day.
And the thing is, I remember it was a few weeks after that happened, and we had met up, and I think it was you who said it. You said that getting caught was the best thing that had ever happened to us, and I totally agree. Now, I wasn't selling anything. I was barely tried to stay out of all that, but getting caught absolutely was the best thing that could happen, because if you don't, you begin to feel untouchable. Like, you can keep getting away with it, and then that's when you just keep sliding down the slope.
Yeah.
And keep delving deeper and deeper into it. So we were lucky that it was a couple months. Fuck knows how long it actually was, because that whole time's all merged together at this point.
I think it was from the very beginning of, like, when I had first took drugs to when we got caught. It was probably about 6 months or something.
Yeah,
I think it lasted.
I think it was 6 months total, but
it lasted for. It just got progressively worse.
But it felt like years.
It did, yeah. And when I look back at it, everything just kind of merges into one. Like you said, it's like you can't really put timelines on everything during that time. But So I got caught. Obviously, police got involved. Just the usual shabam. If you get caught with Class A, Class B drugs, you get charged. So for me, I got charged with possession. What's the one about selling? The
Intent to sell.
intent to sell, and I think that was all I got charged
It was
with.
2 for possession.
Yeah, 2 for possession because I got caught. Yeah.
You got caught twice in the
Yeah.
same like 10 minutes.
So yeah, so 3 charges in total, and luckily for me, being under the age of 16, that's all cleared now. So I've not got anything to hold to me to that. Obviously, I'm pretty sure the police can go back dating and stuff if there was ever to be any problems, but there's not going to be. Let's be honest. I wouldn't be talking about this right now if I was going to start, but it doesn't matter. So after all that, you'd think on the day that I'd get caught, I would have learned my lesson, but I also remember this very vividly, and I feel like I've missed this out in a lot of times that I've spoke to people, but the same day that I got caught, I then went out and got more. And you know what, right? It's hard for me to say that because you'd think the police would be the reason that I would be like, oh, that's it, I mean, I really need to get my shit together. Like, oh, it wasn't. And that's the scariest thought because I know from like even I work in hospitality kind of customer service now, and see the kids we see now, they're not even scared of the police anymore. They don't care, and that's the scariest thought to me because the police are meant to be there to protect or kind of get you into shape or get you into gear. The only thing that does that now is jail, and even at that, jail might not even do that for you. You know what I mean? It sometimes makes you worse.
Even the amount of times that we're at work and we have to ring the police and the police come down and all that, and the things that these 12, 13, 14-year-olds say to the police, you're like, fuck me, man, I thought we were bad. But the younger generation, it gets worse and worse. And I honestly don't know why. Yeah. I honestly couldn't pinpoint it. Because I thought we were bad, but then what comes through our doors is like, holy fuck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's actual police down at the centre and that now doing patrols because antisocial behaviour. It's crazy. Yep. But yeah, so going off that, so I picked up stuff the same day that I got caught, which is absolutely mind-boggling because I had my phone taken off me. Kind of did, but I'd already had this organised. So I had just turned up to where I had organised it and I got it all sorted because I still had money. There's another thing I've missed as well through this time. If I didn't have the money to do what I wanted to do, I was selling clothes. Like I was selling my own material and quality stuff to get money to then fill my addiction. And that's something that a lot of people miss because you're like, oh, but how do these kids get money?
Start punting your items away.
Exactly. And the thing is, why are you getting rid of the things that you've been given, the things that folk have like kindly given to you as birthday presents or things that you've been gifted by your family to then fulfill your want for like a change of scenery for like a couple hours? Because that's all drugs do to you. It changes you for a couple hours and then you realise, what the fuck have I just done? But then you do it again because you enjoy that place that you're in. You just always want to be in that fairy tale land which is taking drugs. And it's a crazy thing because it's not, everyone thinks that it's all sunshine and rainbows because you're taking them and you're like, oh, this is great. But the minute you come out of that, you regret everything. It's called a come down. And every emotion, every negative emotion, that's when it floods you. And especially a young adult, it's a struggle. Like being able to fight past that sort of degrading moment in your time after you've took drugs is so tough because you're young, your brain's still developing as well. When you're going through this much mental trauma, it's not good for you, obviously. It's not good for you taking them and it's not good for you after. But it is what it is. It's just...
You do come out, when you eventually stop and you put an end to it, you come out feeling disgusting for ages.
Yeah.
That was the one feeling I couldn't shake, was just how disgusting I'd felt coming out of it. But then further on down the line, you feel fucking brilliant afterwards. You can actually enjoy things in life instead of the silly little pills.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with selling the stuff again after that, there was a really big key thing that changed me, right? And this brought me down a couple pegs, and this is the reason that I stopped. And it's what a lot of things, like this happens to a lot of people, and I know this from like just hearing stories and stuff, but basically what happened was I went out with my stuff and I was trying to sell it, obviously, and I ended up getting jumped. And this wasn't just like oh, I'm gonna hit you, hits me. No, I got jumped. Like my face was a mess. And I think I remember waking up the morning after that. I'll like fire photos up again. I remember waking up the morning after that and going, like looking at myself in the mirror and just like being like, is this what life really is? And that's like, it was weird because it's like that one experience getting knocked down those pegs and then kind of realizing I wasn't the biggest fish in the sea because I'd been jumped off these boys. Then made me kind of switch back to who I used to be. And like, I was literally looking at myself in the mirror, like emotion, like loads of emotions. I felt everything again. And I was just like, this can't be it. This just can't be it. And I was like looking at myself and I was like, I've allowed myself to get to a point where I look like that. But for what? What did I gain? I didn't gain anything from this situation. I didn't gain anything from this whole ordeal of my life. I've caused loads of hurt for people around me. And now I look like that. It's like it's those key points in life that bring you down the pegs that you need to be brought down to then realise that what the fuck am I doing? Because if I didn't get jumped either, I don't know if I would have stopped again. You know,
Yeah.
these things, because it's all these key little things in life that are all, oh, they're so negative. Getting jumped was the best thing that's probably happened to me as well. Minus getting caught by the police and getting jumped were the best two things that happened to me in my life because it taught me the lessons I needed to know to be like, what the fuck am I doing? It was a wake up call. The wake up call I needed. And I was lucky to have it happen to me. It's like, it's a tough thing to talk about all this past and stuff. But it's even tougher to realize that maybe it's the better thing to just let go of your past and accept what you've done, even if you can't be forgiven for everything that you've done. It's about acceptance, and it's about getting over that wall that you have to climb every single day, holding on to the burden of what you've done. And getting jumped was one of the most terrifying things that have ever happened to me. You know what I mean? Like I'll be like, oh, it wasn't even that scary. I'm the big man. Like I'll say that, but in the moment, even trying to stand my ground, like, because I didn't go down, like, I was standing my ground, but that was just me trying to be the big guy. You know what I mean? Five guys standing on you punching endless ends of shit at you, and you're just taking it because you're not wanting to fight back, because the minute you fight back, you know you're going to be in more trouble. So I'm just standing, giving them all that. And it's just making it worse, you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm just getting myself more hurt because I'm trying to be the big guy. No one cares. I mean, like for them, they should feel disappointed in themselves for even thinking it's acceptable to go and jump someone with five boys. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous in itself. But I'm still, again, I'm happy for what's happened to me. Every single experience that's happened to me in my life has brought me to this moment, and getting put down those pegs was exactly what I needed in that time. Because the fact that I went out and started doing it again straight after I got caught by the police just shows that I wouldn't have stopped. I wouldn't have changed. So getting smashed, my face smashed in, and it's not a beautiful look, you know what I mean? Like, and I remember after all of that, and that's when I actually had stopped. Like that was the deal breaker for me. After I got jumped, I'd never touched, like, I don't know if I had touched drugs again after that. I can't quite remember, but I definitely stopped selling them because there was too much involved with it. You know what I mean? It's not just about getting your money. It's about folk tried to bump you, older folk will try to walk all over you, like people won't pay you. There's all these different things, and then you have to be the guy that deals with that burden of trying to get that money, or it's all business stuff within that genre, and it's just not good because it just brings bad vibes. That's all that selling drugs brings to you. It's just bad vibes. And I remember that very vividly, and it was a jumping that definitely changed everything for me. But then I remember after that, because obviously during this time after I had been selling drugs, my school had to, what's the word called? I got
Suspended.
Yeah, I got suspended. And you know, that's a really nice thing for them to do for me, because they could have just sent me to fuck and got rid of me. Because, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want someone that's selling drugs about your school doing that. But I think, luckily for me, because I had been kind of known within the teachers and the head teachers, and that they were even shocked when this happened, because it was so out of what I would be like before, because they all knew me. And they knew like that I was quite a down to earth kind of normal guy. So I think they gave me the benefit of the doubt, and I'm lucky for that, and I'm very thankful for them giving me that benefit of the doubt, because going to a different school wouldn't have helped me either, I don't think. It would probably make me worse. So I'm lucky that I got to stay where I was familiar with and comfortable with, even though they knew that I had to change for that to be worth their time. They were willing to put that time into me and give me that opportunity. And that is one of the most powerful things that have happened to me in my life as well. Like, they had no reason to do that, but they did. But I remember coming back after I got jumped, and this was when I was coming back from a suspension. Like I was speaking to my deputy head teacher. Can't remember what it was about. I think it was just sort of coming back. They were checking up to make sure everyone was all right, like making sure everything had changed, kind of thing. And I'd came in and I had a black eye and stuff, obviously. But at this point, to be fair, I'd healed really well, so like he didn't know like the extent of it. But I had a black eye, like my face was bruised. He's like, "Oh, what happened to you?" And I was like, I told him, and he was like, and he kind of just made a remark to be like, "Well, that's what you've got to expect when you've
Yeah, it's what you get.
exactly like it's the kick in the arse you need." And that's what I'll always remember when he kind of said that, and I was like, you know what, you're not wrong. And I think I matured up a lot after that point, because you kind of just have to. You can't keep doing what you're doing as a young child. Like, you're too young, naive to be turning around and being like, oh no, but I know better. Like I know better. I'm gonna keep doing it. I know better. You don't know better. You get dragged into these things. You take it too far, and then once you take the leap to then start dragging yourself under, then you're going in the wrong direction. You need to get that sorted. But I think after that, we didn't really touch drugs at all.
No.
For a long time, like a long time. But during that time as well, me and my girlfriend had split up. Yeah, as expected. I mean, I wouldn't want to be with someone like me then. I didn't want to miss that though, because then after it, she had then wanted to get back with me, so we ended up getting back and kind of just kept rolling through school. I was After I had obviously went through that, I got offered, or I got kind of forced into doing it was like an antisocial behaviour class thing. I done it with a couple of the guys from school, and it was just like it kind of came up, this guy, and he kind of took us through. He actually did teach us a bit about drugs and stuff, and it was actually quite good to learn. Obviously, at that point, I was still kind of not fully in gear, so I was like sitting there having a joke, like, "Oh, that's funny, huh? You doing it because I was, huh?" Just trying to be like funny, and that not funny. No one cares.
But the thing is, it shouldn't get to that point where then they teach you about it.
Yeah,
It should be before all that happens.
absolutely.
That you should be aware of it all.
Absolutely, and I think you would save a lot more younger like kids' mentalities, physical bodies, and stuff if you just spoke about it. You know, what I mean? Like you can't tell someone not to do it, but you can at least tell them what the problems are with it. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that schools definitely need to have a look into, because it would benefit so many people.
You'll never be able to stop people from doing it, but you should be able to get advice on it.
Yeah.
Because you definitely can't stop the younger generations doing it and trying it and experimenting it. It's always going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're going into it in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely. So after this all, we got to the end of school. So that whole part of my life after that was kind of actually just normal. There wasn't really much going on. I was back proper friends with Mark, proper friends with like Scott. That's when kind of we created our own little 4-man group. Or was it 5? No, it was about 5 men.
About 5 was.
So like at that point in time, it was me, Sam, Mark, Jordan, and Scott, and that's like my group. That's kind of my group of friends, minus like Sam. Sam's not really about as much anymore, but it's still us 4 really now, and that's kind of the guys that have pulled my whole life through. We're still all friends now. Like we've all kept together, because you've got to keep good friends. You've got to keep people that you trust in your life. And they're the ones that I would go to if I ever needed anything, really, because you trust them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember at the end of school it was the Leavers Day, and me and my girlfriend of that time had kind of had some issues, and there was just not a lot of trust going on anymore. And I think maybe the end of school was kind of just giving us the opportunity to split off. It was kind of maybe just time for us to just leave it there, you know what I mean? And I think eventually, especially from high school relationships, unless you really know that it's meant to be, you will grow apart.
Yeah, people grow apart, and you learn that as you get older as well. Like you're gonna have hundreds of relationships. Not all of them are gonna last.
Yeah.
Some will, some won't. You grow apart, you meet new people. It's part of life.
Absolutely.
And there shouldn't be any bad blood for it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't hold anything to her. I'm happy. Like I'm a very forgiving guy, especially now. Like I've learned that forgiving people and kind of not holding grudges against people is the most important thing in life, because no one should be held to everyone deserves a second chance. I would be a hypocrite to say that they're not. You know what I mean? So I think you just need to kind of see past the problems that people have had in their past and just try and at least give them the benefit of the doubt in most situations. But after this, obviously we had ended, and the relationship breakup wasn't that. It wasn't like a heartbreak for me, because I think I knew it was coming, and I think she kind of knew it was coming as well. We were trying to fight to keep together, and It just was it. We got grown apart, like we just said. It's like we grew apart, and it's not as difficult to deal with the breakup and stuff. But again, for some reason after that breakup, because I'd been in a relationship for so long, I was kind of in like this confidence place where I wasn't very confident talking to lassies because I'd been in a relationship for so long that you don't just make random interactions with women, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I had just turned 18 at this point as well, so I was obviously allowed to go clubbing and drinking. And a story for that as well is, because obviously COVID had just hit, I had sent away from my provisional months before. Like I think I waited about 6 or 7 months or something for my provisional. Something stupid. And everyone was like, "Oh, do you want to go for your birthday?" Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And then but the week before that, the week prior to that, I had lost my passport, and my passport was invalid, but you can still use it in some places. And I remember like, let's go out. Hopefully my provisional's here for my birthday. It didn't come. It came the day after my birthday, like when I had everyone round, and they all went to GC, and I was just sitting in my room like, imagine going out for my birthday without me. I was like, you bastards. But like the day after it came in, I was like, that's an actual joke. Like that is an actual
that's
joke.
a rip right there.
But I was like, you know what? Maybe it was for the best because GC is just another place to be. But
no, GC does bad things to good people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So like during that time, I think alcohol became one of my best friends, and that is a terrible thing to be able to recite because it shouldn't be your best friend. But I've got this thing like it kind of like now that I'm a confident guy and I'm willing to talk, it doesn't bother me. But back then, even back like a year ago, I was so unsure in myself. Like I wasn't a very confident guy at all, and I used to drink to gain that confidence. And I think that's kind of where everything just spiraled for me. Throughout that time after I was 18, I used to just drink to find confidence, but I didn't just drink, I drank. Like, I drank, and I would be in some states, like, and it got to an actual point where it'd be like, oh, let's go get a chillin' with the boys, to being like, let's go get a chillin' with that devil cunt over there we can't even stand being with. Because I was just horrible to be around. And even, like, during, like, the younger times as well, I've always had problems, like, vodka, for example. And I don't know what it was, it just changed something in my brain. It was like, just change, and I would change. But especially through that 18-year-old time, I remember I used to go out and I genuinely became a point where folk would rather not be with me on a night out. It got to a point they were still asking me because it would be unkind almost to not ask me to go out, but they would try and keep as much distance away from me as possible because
you were a right pain in the
arse. Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't go out to have fun anymore. I was going out to drink. I was going out to cause problems. I wasn't an enjoyable person to be around. And it's a crazy thought because you think, after what I'd went through in high school, you'd think, oh, maybe he's just like understood that maybe it's not for him.
Yeah, nah.
I just decided to fucking adopt a slightly more acceptable way of dealing with it, you know what I mean? And it's weird because every single thing in life, you understand that it's a coping mechanism. Drinking is a coping mechanism to confidence, to not feeling like good in the moment. Because I remember I used to go to work not even that long ago again and be like, I'd have a really bad shift. I'd be like, right, I'm going home and drinking. And I'd just sit and drink myself. And that's when you know that you need to get your shit sorted. Like, going home after a shift and being like, oh, it's time to drink. No. What? It's not even like I was like, oh, I'm going to go out with my pals, I'm going to go have a drink because I just need a chill moment. No, I'd go home and I'd crack open a bottle of fucking vodka or something and just buff. I'd be steaming in my room just, why? Yeah. Like, what is going on? And that's that's kind of where you need to, again, drinking is, I'm not ever going to tell anyone not to drink because, again, hypocritical, but, and I don't think drinking's a bad thing if you use it in the correct ways. But nowadays, drinking's became more of it's a challenge. You want to be the most drunk there. You want to be really steaming. But drinking's not there to get steaming. Drinking's there to have a social kind of gathering sort of. It's a drink so that you feel a bit more confident, you get a bit more loose, you kind of have a dance and stuff. It's not there to like put yourself into the ground with. And I've done that a lot. Yeah. And it was almost every single time I would do that as well. Like we would go for prees and it wouldn't be prees, it would be Kyle's fucking steaming. What are we doing? Alright, let's go.
Then it would be get on the train and then go.
Exactly. But by that point it's already too late for someone like me because I'm absolutely steaming. Like I'm stumbling about the shop, I've always had quite a high tolerance to drink, but that was worse for me because it made me then have to drink more to get to where I wanted to be confident. But then because of the way drink kind of works, it kind of slowly creeps up on you. You think you're not going to be steaming, and suddenly you're just bosh. So that's what always used to happen to me. I'd go out, I'd be like, all right, I can drink 6 4 locals because I'm hard as fuck. I mean, it's sound me. You drink the first one, I'm feeling it. Second one, I'm feeling it. Third one, I'm feeling it. Fourth one, I'm feeling it. And then you'd be like, oh my god, mate, I can't even see any, man.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're then just throwing slander to your pals because you're steaming. You don't care what you have to say. Like, you gain this confidence. It's not even confident in a good way. It's confidence that just makes you an arsehole, really.
It's cockiness.
Yeah. Like, you let your what's it called? Your ego take over. Ego takes over. Like, the one thing I'll say that's never left me from probably that time in high school is it's like the ego that I had for so long. Like, I had this ego that was still kind of better than everybody. I don't know what it was, but when I drank, I just felt like I was better than everyone. And it's something that you need to realize is just not the case. No one's better than anyone else. We're all the same. We're all equals. We're all here to live our lives in our own unique ways. And that's the scariest thing, because once you let ego take over you, you can't control it. It's like, if you let drinking take a hold of you, you can't control it. If you let drugs take a hold of you, you can't control it. It's they take control of you. And it's a terrifying thing to think of, because you end up getting to a situation where you go out all the time and folk just look at you like, what the fuck are you? Like, what is wrong with you? Why are you like that? And that's what it used to be for me all the time. And it's not even like I would go out and recognise it again. It's the same ideology as high school. You go out and you're like, whatever, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, they don't want to speak to me because we must have had a bad night last night. It wasn't my fault. And then you realise...
But it was your fault.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I mean. And you get those messages off certain people that have got the confidence to be like, you really fucked up yesterday.
Yeah.
And then you look at them and go, whatever, I'll do it again and it won't matter. And then you keep doing it. And then you keep doing it. And then you finally realise you're like, maybe I am the problem. Like, maybe this is really not it. Like, this is... And it's weird because my life's always been a continuous kind of motion of that, because until now, I've never got myself actually grounded. And it's such a shame, because you waste so much of your life trying to ground yourself. And then when you finally do it, I mean, luckily I'm 20 years old. I'm at a good age to still be able to fight back from what I've made my mistakes like. But if you wait too long, sometimes it is too late. Like, everyone has an opportunity to change. Everyone has an opportunity to try and develop from where they are. But once you get to 25, 26, 27, 28, if you're still doing what you're doing, like if you're in math,
you've lost.
You're too late. And that's the sad truth. You can still try, but you're going to be mostly too late. Like, once you get to a certain age, you just kind of, you don't have much time to come back from what you have.
If you're going to go through all that, it's best to get it out of the way early.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't get it out the way early, you end up doing it later on in life, and then that's when you lose everything. That's not when you just lose a couple of pals. That's when you start losing your house, your mortgage, your family. Like, that's when you will lose absolutely everything. So it's best to just get it out the way, and then you've got from 20 to 30 to make something of yourself. If you haven't made something of yourself at 30, where do you go from there?
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I've got a really fond memory actually of when I was probably at my worst time drinking, and also I went through 4 phones in a month during this time. This is also going to kind of add on to what I was just about to talk about, but the fact that I was willing to break 4 phones, and phones aren't cheap, we all know this. 4 phones within the space of, I think it wasn't even a full month. Like, I remember coming back and being like to my mum and dad, I don't know how this happened. I must have just dropped it or something. And it had very evidently been smashed. You could see, because it's like, there's a difference between dropping your phone and like a wee crack or something.
Yeah.
But it's like, it was like very obviously thrown or lobbed or stood on or something. But we'll get to that. So I remember we're at the Bankton House Hotel, which is literally round the corner. It's our local. And this was probably at my peak, the worst time for me drinking. And I don't know, again, don't even know what happened at this time in my life. I don't know why it all changed. It was probably just add-ons from me drinking so much. And this was literally just after I turned 18. It was when I turned 18. And we had went there, and again, just like usual, it's a challenge to drink. I need to drink as much as I can. I need to get absolutely bloated, you know what I mean? That's the most important thing. No one cares about just drinking for fun. We need to drink to fucking be steaming. So I would go in and just buy shots after shots, pints after pints, and I was just getting to a point where like I was pretty steaming. And I used to have like a switch where you would know you would know once I had changed, and it was a laugh, a very
Oh,
very
that fucking
very
thing.
unique laugh, and it was like a psycho laugh. You could tell straight away as soon as I had changed, and it was like very high pitched, very like choppy, and everyone just knew what it meant, and everyone knew that that was the turning point for me, and that's when you knew that you had to try and get me to just chill the fuck out because that was when the problems started, and that happened at the hotel, and I think I don't even remember why I went outside and done what I done, but there must have been something that happened, and I can't remember. At the time, there was a lassie I was kind of seeing as well, and I don't know if that was the reason, but there was something. And what I done was they've got like like a nice outside like drinking garden kind of bit. And what I'd done is I went outside and I was absolutely raging for no reason really. I can't remember the proper reason, but it wasn't that important that I was going out and like doing what I was doing. So I went outside and I started flipping the benches and like they're like seating and that. And it's like, why? And the bartenders and that they know me, like they've known me when I first started going to being quite a chill guy, and they know me now as being like again a chill guy. But during that point in time, they were like, he's got a problem, and their benches took that problem.
Oh, absolutely. They got
But
flung about.
that's what I mean, like, but you can't comprehend why you would do such a thing, especially now. Like it's embarrassing. Like even until like I'd finally got my shit together, going to the bank was embarrassing for me, because like that was when you really realize you're like, shit, problems are happening again. Like I'm having problems again. What is going on? Like
You did apologise, didn't you? I think I
yeah, no, I
remember
did. I
you
went
went
I went
down.
up and
Yeah.
apologized the next day, but it's again apologies don't mean shit. You need to prove that you're gonna change for
Aye.
it to actually be acceptable. Because you can accept yourself, but other people are never going to forgive you for things like that. Because it's like, I'm pretty sure she came outside when I was doing it. And she was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" or something. I don't know if she did, but I just have a memory of it. But I don't know, man. It's like it was just one after another thing with me, and it's a crazy thing because you would think maybe after everything I'd already put everyone through, I would just
Yeah.
fucking stop. But lo and behold, I
But
never.
it's like I say, it's one too many bad experiences, and then you will stop.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that was the same case for me. I'd done my fair share, done what I had done, one too many bad experiences, and now I don't do anything. I don't even drink. I don't think I've drank in about 6 months because I realised I was like, yeah, I fucking hate this. I hate the way I feel. I hate the way I am on it. I don't want to do it, so I just don't. And you always get temptations, and that's what we were talking about before this. Is that you always get that itch. Oh, I'll just have a fucking pint, eh?
Yeah,
But you realise you're way better off. I don't miss it. I don't
yeah.
miss any of it
No, that's
at
fair.
all.
I don't miss it either, to be fair. Not now. Maybe then, but not now.
Yeah, maybe then I was like, oh man, well, I want to go out. But no, now it's like if I had the option to stay in or go out, I'd stay in
Yeah,
every day of the week.
yeah, that's fair. To be fair, again, after that point, it kind of just all simmered down again. I kind of finally, I wouldn't say was good at drinking or good with drinking, but I'd got a wee bit better. And it kind of then just veers us all the way to 2 years ago. I don't think I've really missed much in between that space of time. There wasn't too
Right.
much that really happened. Going to raves, kind of still living a quite a bad lifestyle, but it wasn't like there was nothing really that was like particularly bad that I remember.
It's funny because the raves were actually probably the most calm
That's what I mean. Yeah, like
that we were. I was when we weren't and we were doing our own thing that it was the big
yeah.
problems.
So I think I don't recall anything after that point that was really crucial. So we're gonna bounce up to 2 years ago from now. So 2 years ago from now, I then finally, after going about and kind of trying my luck with some lassies and stuff, just kind of living a 18-year-old, 19-year-old lifestyle, just being a pain in the ass really, and just going out clubbing, just what usual folk do nowadays. I then finally kind of ended up getting another girlfriend, and this was about Christmas time 2 years ago. And this one's really funny for me because it's like this lassie. She wasn't just a lassie. She was like my best friend, and a lot of people then would have been like that. She's like basically a sister to me, and that's the thing that's one of the things that I'll never forgive myself for because I've lost such a good friendship from that. that I'm never gonna get back. And I've always said that God does things for a reason, and maybe it was for a reason, but I'd hope that it wasn't. But we're gonna get on the story. So we ended up getting together in about January time. No.
It was
It was
December.
December. So we ended up basically together in December, and I had asked her out in January. I think it was like halfway through January or something. And we were happy, Dory. To be fair, as an actual relationship with no problems, we were actually really well matched, and like, cause we're obviously best friends for so long, we did really connect, and we had like a good connection between us. But I think I still wasn't ready, and I knew then I wasn't really ready. It was one night that we were out drinking that I turned around to her and I was like, oh, we should just like kind of try like be in a relationship because we're so close anyway. It would work, like we would be quite happy and stuff. And then it took her like a good couple months to be like, you know what, maybe he's right. And she wasn't right. And I kind of wish that she didn't think it was the right thing to do because we'd probably still be friends now, like as good friends we were then. Because the thing that I think everyone really doesn't realize is when you get into a relationship, no matter how hard you want or how bad you want to be friends with them, everything that's happened between you within that time, it's not something you can just repair. There's always going to be stuff in the background that folk are thinking about. And even for me, like, I tried my hardest just to kind of see past like everything that happened between us. And I was mostly the problem, don't get me wrong, but I mean, like, even after we did kind of try to become friends again, it was like, it's just too tough. You can't hold on to something that's already been broken. And basically what happened was we we were only together for like 3 months, and it got to about end of February time. It wasn't even 2 months. It was like a month and a bit.
It was about the start of February.
Yeah. No, it was end of February.
It was,
Oh, mid
I was,
No, it was mid February because we went to Skin on Skin. So about mid February time, we had just split off completely, and we had a holiday booked in May, March, as well. But we didn't end up going to that, obviously. Um, and basically, what just happened was, I think, for me, I hadn't changed, and I'll hold my hands up. I hadn't changed, and I knew I hadn't changed, and I even warned her that after a certain amount of time in, that
I think that I think for me, I think that was when you were the biggest problem.
yeah.
I mean that I think Scott was gonna have to leave work to come get you because it was becoming that much of a
Mm.
problem. I think it was me who ended up doing it because Scott was obviously working. But that was when like the problems were at its fucking top. At least for me, it was.
Mm.
Aye.
So like I don't blame the person at all, and I actually kind of wish we were still friends and stuff, like proper friends. Like I still speak to her, but it's not the same. But I think we kind of my drinking became a very big problem again, and that was a very big changing thing for me because we were really when we were sober and when we were together, really good together. But the minute we had went out for a drink and stuff, it kind of just became a problem. I had because when you get into a relationship as well, you also get quite comfortable. So that comfortability with who I was when I wasn't even a good person still kind of just battered everything else down on me again. And at one point, I had then I'd been out drinking. Lo and behold, surprise, surprise, I'd been out drinking and I had mailed down being like, I can't remember what I said, but I said something on the lines of like this isn't going to work or something until I've changed or just something on those lines, like something that you could easily take out of proportion and be like, that's yeah, like why would you say that? And I don't regret saying it because I think she escaped something that she didn't deserve to be part of at that point. I also needed that kick in the arse again, this time to actually fix myself. And um, the thing is, she didn't even properly end me. So basically, what happened was she was just trying to give us a bit of time because she needed to think and stuff. And I sometimes don't agree with that, but she was trying to see the better side of me, and I understand that. Um, but for me, I wasn't willing to change. Not then. Not even for her. I couldn't get myself out of the drinking kind of psychosis kind of place I was at. It wasn't it wasn't going to change, and that's something that I'll need to hold on to again for the rest of my life, because you can't write those things. You can't just change in a day. You can't just change for someone. You need to change for yourself, and that's just how it is. But she was trying her best to try and kind of see the light of what the situation was, and I remember I ended up going out to a nightclub that one of those nights, and I'd end up mailing one of not one like one of our pals and being like, "Oh, could you come get?" I was very upset, like, and I this is where everything gets blown out of the water, because everything kind of gets muddled up and it's Chinese whispers at this point. I had no intentions of like sleeping with this lassie or anything like that. I just needed someone that I was friends with before, but because I was obviously with this lassie, it's like it does get looked at as a bad thing, and that's fair enough. Like, I understand, like, I shouldn't have done it, but it's just, it happens. Everything happens for a reason. I'll always live by that quote. Um, and then after that, to be fair, um, this is quite a deep part in my life, because it was weird, because I tried to have such a big change in my life that I shot myself in the foot because of the kick in the arse after we had fully ended, and I was really upset, like I was heartbroken. And I think it was more because I lost someone that I really needed in my life at that time, as much as losing like the person that I was with. It was because I lost the person that I was best friends with as well. I got shot in the foot, so I kind of tried to. At first, it was self development, and this was a crazy time in my life, because everyone was like, "What are you doing to yourself?" Because I had went from drinking alcohol to just nothing. I was just fitness driven. I was doing ice baths, and I've got that, oh, what's his name? Jordan Ferrone guy. He's on Instagram. He's on day like 500 and something in ice bath, and I've got him to thank for my ice bath thing, and that at that time and now, because I watched him and he done kind of what I'm doing, but like less personal. It was more just like motivational quote things, and I used to watch him and be like, I want to be like him. I want to be able to use my voice to help people. I want to be able to. I'm listening to him and he's helping me right now. I want to be able to do that for someone else as well, and I really really pushed myself for 10 days.
Yeah.
And you know, like, people are like, oh, it's great trying to make a change in it, but you need to do it gradually. You can't just think you're gonna change, because I shot myself so hard in the foot, because after I'd done all that, I then took an even worse spiral for my mental health, and this is the first time in my life I wanted to die. I'm not gonna show pictures of all that because that's too far for a video, and like, but I can promise you, there's videos of me just sitting on my bathroom crying, and I'm a fucking whole mess. And I think that is really where it all changed, because I've never felt that way before. I had always felt emotionless when it got hard. I'd always just kind of cut everything away. But when you're feeling that much emotion that you want to die, that's when you really realize that you're like, you've really sent yourself to where you don't want to be. And it's a hard thing to come back from as well, because luckily, like, my mum was in that, and she kind of came in, sorted me out, and kind of sat with me, and she was just making sure I was all right and stuff. She was like, "You're being so stupid." I was like, "Yeah, you're right." But like, the fact that I was even capable of doing like what I'd done, like self harming, it's fucking mad. Because you would, from the person that I knew from birth to even primary school to even the beginning of high school, you'd never see any of these positions. And then that whole like 6 years of my life in between that, where it was just on and off being a complete mess. And then you get to this point where you're now sitting in like a pool of your own blood, and you're just like, what am I doing? Like, you want to die. Like, you should never get up to a point in your life where you want to die. Life's great. The things that you get given in life, the gifts. Life is a gift itself. Like, you got people around you that care about you. You got all these things, and it all just goes away, and you think about this selfish way of just, or not selfish, because that sounds really terrible for the people that have probably taken their life and stuff, but you do kind of go into like a place where you don't really care about what happens around the people, with the people around you. You don't want to be there. And it's a crazy thing, because it's so out of your hands. Like, the fact that you're just even willing to go to that place is just, it's mad. And I remember it, like, that's one of the biggest things, that memories of that came up, like, because that was about March, mid-March time that all happened. and memories have popped up about it, and I just kind of look at it and I'm like, how? Like now, I would never even think about that.
Yeah.
I live every day of my life, and I'm so proud of what I'm doing, and I'm so proud of the people around me, and even if people aren't doing as much as I am, I can still see the light in what they're doing. They're still there. They're living. They're doing what they have to do to survive. And it's not about survival, though. It's about living your life. You're not here to survive. You're here to thrive. And it's such a shame because this is why I've got such a big push on mental health now, because I don't want anyone to ever get to the position I was in, sitting on my bathroom floor thinking that death would be the best part. It's uh, it's such a hard experience to explain because no one should feel like that. No one. Like everyone has people that, and the thing is as well, there's so many people around you that care. They just don't. They don't always open the doors to talk about it because some people don't have time, and it's all understandable situations. But from me to everyone there that's listening, I would say if you get any spare time in your day and any of your friends even seem like they're even remotely struggling, just ask them, please. Because I do what I do to try and help people because I don't want anyone to feel the way I felt that day. And it's just not something you want to feel. It's a scary thought. And the willingness to do what I done that day just proves where I was in my head and where I didn't want to be anymore because I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be myself because I wasn't proud of who I was. I was actually embarrassed about who I was at that point, and I just wanted to be gone. But it's not the best way. Everyone gets a second chance to fix what they've done, and you need to take that second chance.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of people, when it comes to mental health, you do get so far in your own head with it. When realistically, when you break it down, it's not that big a deal. But for you, you've made it into a big deal, and so it's like this crushing weight that's on you. And it's for me, it's not like you want to die. It's more that you want everything to stop.
Yeah, you want it
It's
to end.
absolutely everything just to stop and just. It is a really tough one. I think everyone has their own things where they go through it, but it is such a big part that it does become almost selfish because you want the way you're feeling to
Yeah.
stop, but you're not really caring about how anyone else feels.
Yeah.
But it is a tricky one. It'll always be a tricky one as well.
But like, yeah, I think after actually my life after that point, after that like whole ordeal about almost trying to commit suicide, that was literally when everything changed. And the thing is, I was still drinking and stuff, but I had just got my shit together. And it's so strange because it was as easy as a scary, daunting thing like that to happen for me to then be like, okay. But getting caught with drugs, having all these countless times where folk would look at me and be like, you're a problem, getting caught a second time, getting jumped, it wasn't enough for me to fully change. But the minute I was willing to take my own life, it was enough to change. And it's just a crazy thing.
For me, it was more like when I was going through it, it was more like, oh fuck, I don't actually want this.
Yeah.
When it came down to it, and then that's what made me like, get it together. I was like, fuck, I need to pull myself together with it. It was like I don't actually want to do that. I don't actually want to die.
Yeah.
And you just need to take a hard look at yourself and be like, right, fucking time to pull it together. And it's like you said, like the memories pop up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm the same. I'm like, don't remember feeling like that. I remember it happening. I couldn't imagine feeling like that now.
Yeah.
Especially after going through it. I think you do get to a point where you get broken so much that you don't break again.
Yeah.
And you
Absolutely.
become a lot more mentally tough and stronger, and you know how to handle situations better, and you know what to say and when to say it, and you do overall become a better person, but you do have to go through it first.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't think you can instantly have all the answers and instantly know that that's going to hurt, this is going to hurt, that's going to put you down. You don't know until you go through it. I think that's the big thing. If you are going through it, you will come out of it way better once you get out of it. But it's all about having a solid people around you. Like I wouldn't have got through my stuff if it wasn't for you. You wouldn't have got through your stuff if it wasn't for me and everyone else who was around you at the time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then, but the thing is, the only way you can change is if you change yourself.
Yeah.
people can push you towards it.
Yeah.
People can help you all you want. You're the only one who can make the change, though.
Aye. Guidance is always helpful from the people around you, but it's you're in the driving seat at the end of the day, and if you don't want to veer towards the right path, then that's up to you.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's harder said than done, but it is still you're the one that's holding that wheel. So, but I mean, to be fair, I think I've spoken about most of the stuff I want to speak about. After that point, I wouldn't say I'm who I was now, but coming up to about Christmas time, I was kind of still drinking, and I missed a wee bit about after I'd kind of ended. Before I had like tried to kill myself or commit suicide or whatever. There was a bit where I was like abusing drugs again, and it was a coping mechanism, and I think that's something that gets brushed over a lot for drugs as well. It's a coping mechanism. It's the same as alcohol. It's a coping mechanism. Not always. Sometimes you can use drinking to have fun, but a lot of the time, people that overuse drink or overuse drugs, it is a coping mechanism. It's a way to escape the reality that they're living in. And I remember using drugs for that after all that, and it wasn't even because I had been finished with all that. It was just because I was so over it now. That was a turning point for me to be like, that's it. I can't forgive myself any longer. I've done it too many times now. I've been over the same script, and it's a scary thought. But I mean, after all that and kind of just scaring myself into really wanting to live again, it's like I think I'd still been drinking a wee bit, and then I'd still kind of been just dabbling about and everything, and then it came to New Year's, and the first time in my whole life have I turned around and looked at myself and went, what's changed?
Mhm.
What's changed in the last 2 years that I've been proud of whenever it's got to New Year's? What have I said to myself every single time it's came to New Year's that I would like to change? And I was like, the fact that I have always promised myself that I'm going to go and get this massive job, I'm going to go and get loads of money, I'm going to go and do things that are better in the world. And every single time I'd say it, the next day I'd be rough going into New Year, the first day of New Year's, and just then forgetting about everything I'd said to myself previously. And this year, I turned around and went, things are going to change this year because I can't just keep wasting my time on this earth. And evidently enough, I took my own advice for once, and I've not drank since, and I've not touched drugs for a long time, and started doing my ice baths, I started doing cold wans, started doing Tourist Tuesdays, started doing Mai Tai. I've got a big thanks to say to them as well, because how inviting they were. You think these martial art clubs and that can be really scary. Obviously, it is built for a certain type of people, because until you get punched, you don't know how you're going to feel. But the way that they are, the coaches there, they're so friendly, they're so unforgiving. When they let you in, they bring you in with open arms, and they teach you like you're just one of their own, and it's great. And the people there as well, so welcoming. And those martial arts brought that level of discipline for me, along with the ice bath. So having both at the same time, it was just a completely different side of life for me, because I'm noticing that I'm a lot happier in myself because I'm healthier. Pushing myself past my breaking point sometimes, and not in a bad way now. I'm not pushing myself past a breaking point in alcohol or in drugs or in a situation with my friends. I'm pushing myself past a breaking point in myself, getting somewhere that I didn't think I was even capable of going. And that's the greatest gift that I've been given. Being able to then realize that maybe that second chance was just waiting around the corner for me, and that second chance was now. And I'm so grateful for what the chance I've been given in my life. And as bad as it sounds, I'm also grateful for the bad things that have happened to me, because I don't know if I'd be the same person I am today if it wasn't for them. Yeah, I wish some of them didn't happen. Yeah, I wish it was better the ways that they went through, but I can't be more thankful than right now for who I am and what I've went through, because I'm now given the opportunity to pass my knowledge over and help other people from my bad experiences. I'm also given the opportunity to have the confidence in myself to talk in front of all these people, in front of you guys, and help you out every day. And I've gained the confidence to realise that maybe all the things I've done in my life, they were worthwhile, because you've just got to, every scar that you have will stay with you for life. And the only way that you can see around your scars is if you show them. you can't hide scars. The minute you start hiding them, you're hiding a part of you. With bruises, they come, they go. It's just situations, bad timing, you know what I mean? But scars, you need to show them off. You need to be proud of what you're holding. And it's the same with mental scars. It's the bad experiences, the good times. All these things build you into who you are. It's character building. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. And I mean, there's a lot of things that I wish I never done. God, I wish I never done half the things I've done to my family. I wish I never hurt the people in my life, like my friends. And I wish I just didn't abuse drugs and drink alcohol all the time and be the way I was. But like I say, if it wasn't for those times, then I don't know where I'd be now. And I don't think my friends would know me for who I am, maybe quite as much. And there also wouldn't be as much respect over how much I've changed if it wasn't for what's happened to me. And by me doing this now, I've just sealed my deal with being me, because it would be awfully what's the word?
Hypocritical.
Yeah, hypocritical for me to go backwards now. Not that that was ever part of the plan, but I think
It's a good way to do it though.
yeah,
Um,
give a lesson for people.
Cause if you do it again now, everyone's on your back then.
But I would never go back now. The thing is, once you find this part of your life and you realize that you can be happy without all these things that compensate for your maybe unhappiness, you do then find yourself. And finding yourself is the most valuable thing. The minute you find yourself, you get this rush of life that you never thought you would feel. Like the fact that I'm blessed enough to talk to you guys every single day, and just I'm not worried about what people have to say negatively or positively about it. I'm just happy that I can share what I'm having to share with you guys, and you sometimes do give me positive things, and that's even better for me because I know then that I'm doing what I want to do. And it's a crazy thing, because at one point in my life I didn't want to be here. At one point in my life I was abusing drugs. At one point in my life I was abusing alcohol to the point where I was unbearable to be around, and now I'm at a point where people respect me for who I am because I look out for the others and I try my hardest to be as much of a social animal as I can be to help everyone else out. And it's just crazy how far your life comes. But I mean, I think that's probably about.
I think you covered all the bases there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely missed things, but it's not always about the full story. It's about the most crucial parts. And we could be here for hours if I went over absolutely everything, because my life's been ups and downs, and it's no one's fault but myself, really. And I'll never blame any of my family for that, any of my friends for that. It was a leap I chose to take, and everyone warned me several times that I was a problem in my times, and I wasn't willing to take that. That's completely my fault. I can't blame any family. I was raised great. Can't blame it on my friends. I was always treated right. So
And a lot of people don't know this side of you as well. Like, you're not telling this because it's a guilty conscience or it's any of that. It's everyone comes on here and they tell their life story and what they get up to and stuff like that. This is Kyle speaking about him and who he is and who he was and how he got to this point. Like, you didn't just wake up one day and be like, I'm gonna fucking do a few ice baths and just see how it goes. It was never a case of that. It's always been a development, and I think it's crucial to remember that it's not him saying all this because he's guilty about it. It's him saying this because of who he is now and the absolute journey that he's been on for that. And I think that's the most important thing to take away from this, is that you come from a bad place and then you went to a bad place to a great place.
yeah.
And where
Absolutely.
you're way more confident in yourself, you're more happy, you're fucking up and down all of Scotland all the time now. And I can guarantee you 3-4 years ago you weren't doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly, man, that's it. But I mean, on that same kind of note, the reason that I really wanted to do this as well is because I feel like in some ways as well, it's not fair for me to ask you to come on and talk if I'm not willing to tell my own story. And I've always wanted to tell my story, and I think another thing is like I've never been given an opportunity to speak like this.
No.
But I've gave myself the opportunity now to speak like this. And again, like Mark's saying, it's not because I feel guilty over what I've done and I needed to get off my chest or that.
it's because there's so much to learn from my life, from that one little bit of my life. Like, I'm only 20 years old, but in my time, I've had some really bad times. And it relates so closely to so many younger folk now, or even like older folk. Like, and being able to see me now where I am just proves that it's not the end. You've always got another opportunity. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the day, the end of the game. Once you've done these bad things, you can always come back. You just need to want it, and that's what you need to want. You can't sugarcoat it. You can't be like, oh, I'm gonna change tomorrow. Oh, I'm gonna change. You have to just do it, and that's just how it has to be. And luckily for me, I just finally had enough. I had to do it, and here we are. I am now Kyle, the owner of Cold Wans, the owner of Tourist Tuesdays.
Usually, but it's me today.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, host. I didn't mean that, brother. I didn't mean that. But yeah, I mean, we should. It was that for me was a great opportunity, and I hope that you guys all see the light in that whole situation. You don't really see it, because some people would look down on you the minute you start talking about stuff like that, and only see the past for you in that. But again, for the people that don't know me at all, the folk just watching on social media, you've now learned who I am, and that's the most important thing.
And everybody's got a story as well.
Exactly.
You know, everyone's got somewhere where they came from. Well,
Is
that everything?
Probably, just be comfortable in your past.
Right. The last question for you, Kyle, is: do you have a message for everybody watching?
So, I'm just gonna kind of go back to what I've said. I think you should realize that everyone needs to realize that it's not the end of the game once you do get to a certain point in life where you think that you've beat yourself down so bad that you're not going to come back from it. I think what you need to do for yourself and for the people around you is, if you want them to forgive you for what you've done, or kind of see past the situations you've been in, I think what you need to do is you need to offer yourself a second chance. It's not about other people offering you a second chance. It's about you offering yourself one. Because that's what happened to me. I when I came back from New Year's, I was like, right, that's it. It's time for my second chance. I'm taking it now, and I'm not going to look back. And a lot of people don't give themselves a second chance because, like what Mark said, they beat themselves down so much to the point where they don't think they're worth anything. And you need to try and see past that. There's always a second chance. No matter what you've done in your past, it can be reversed. It'll always be there as a scar to remember what you've done, but you need to see past it, and you need to give yourself a second chance, because you're worth a second chance. Every human being has a chance to be who they want to be. Everyone has a chance to change. It's not the end of the day, end of the game, end of the life, just when you do something bad. Because every bad situation turns you into a much stronger person as well. There's loads of things to be said, but I would just say give yourself a second chance.
Absolutely. Hey, that's a good message. Right, we'll wrap it up there then. This has been Cold Wans, episode 10. It's the final of the season, so next Cold Wans will be the start of season 2. And yeah, that'll be exciting to see where this goes after it, into season 2. Bigger, better, hopefully.
Yeah, change it up a bit.
Yeah, change it up a bit, see what comes next. So, well, Kyle, thank you for letting me host.
Oh, thank you for hosting.
yeah. You've been a great guest. I think that I think that's probably the deepest one we've done.
Yeah.
Easily.
I mean, I've got to give props to Paul. He was the first one outside of what I wanted to happen to kind of dig into this kind of deeper part of life. But yeah, this had to be said.
Yeah.
And this again with the whole situation as well. Me coming onto Cold Wans gave me an opportunity to show how I want Cold Wans to roll forward. Interviews are fine. Don't dig deep into your life. That's fine. Cold Wans isn't here for you to do that. Cold Wans is here for you to talk. But if you're willing to dig deep, you should do it, because sometimes saying things that you don't want to say lightens the load on you, and that's the most important thing for Cold Wans. It's an opportunity for you just to speak out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
So anyway, we'll call it there. This has been great. This was much better sitting in this seat.
Yeah, I appreciate
it. It's actually a bit comfier over here. I can't lie.
Ash is sunk in there by this point, bro. But yeah, no, absolute pleasure having you being the host for today, man.
Yeah,
and thank you for sitting through my whole life story. I mean, you've known quite a bit of it, but
yeah,
it does get quite deep. And I honestly, before I got on this, I thought there was going to be tears because I was sitting in my
So
room
did
in
I.
some state, but I managed to hold back. I was getting a bit emotional at some points there, but it's all to come with it, man. You know what I mean? Once it's out in the air, you do feel much better.
And that's it. That's it done.
Exactly. So we'll see you again tomorrow.